Hello again, everyone, and welcome to The Crusher. A very special edition of The Crusher today. You know, the United States border is obviously it's the issue of our time recently, and certainly under this administration, certainly in the last number of years. But so much has changed and changed again that I wanted to bring in a very special guest by the name of J.J. Carrell. JJ was 24 years as a U.S. Border Patrol agent. He finished his career as Deputy Patrol Agent in Charge down here in San Diego. And he does a podcast called Unrestricted Invasion with Brian O'Shea. And you need to find this book. Okay, I'm going to put it in the title so that you know what it is before. But I'm going to flash you here with my technological expertise. There it is. The book is called Invaded. And JJ, it is great to have you on The Crusher today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I love talking about this topic. I wish I was talking about Donald Trump's secure border, which he left Joe Biden, but we're not. We're talking about something that is the greatest threat to our republic, and that is the unfettered invasion of literally tens of millions of people into America in the last 3.5 years.
Well, indeed, we are going to get to all that, and it is amazing to me. I will get to this later, but it is amazing to me that the new president, there are a great many Democrats who, if they would have inherited a solution, they would have kept it and then moved on with their agenda. I am stunned by the overturning of every gain that the previous administration had made, but we'll get to that. So I just want to touch on the fact that now my understanding from your book is that you spent the vast majority of your career in San Diego, in the area from between like from the coast, like Imperial Beach, over to San Ysidro, and then up along the coast, even as far north as Santa Barbara. But you can fill me in with that. Was that your main area? Was Southern California?
It was. I was detailed many times out to eastern part of California and Arizona, Nogales, Sierra Vista, Sassabee, all those horrible places to spend 30 to 60 days detailed out. But my career started, if you look at the map, the very southwesternmost point of the United States of America. From that point, 6 miles in, I spent a decade there during some of the most violent times in modern Border Patrol history. I ran an ATV unit, 11 guys on it. We were literally every single day I went to work, we were fighting. Like physical fist fights, rocks thrown at us, baling wire trying to decapitate us as we drive our ATVs. I took a lateral transfer as a supervisor up and created a coastal border enforcement team up the coastline. We took down huge human smuggling and narcotic smuggling from the coastline, boats coming in from Mexico. And then I took took a promotion to an inland station about 60 miles north of the border, where I ended my career as Deputy Patrol Agent in Charge. And that's why I think I have a very unique perspective on this, because I believe I'm the expert. I'm not a talking head. I've done it. I lived it. I can tell you exactly what's happening because I believe I'm an expert on the policy and law within DHS, because that is how Mayorkas has been destroying the American immigration system from within.
Yeah.
So that's what gives me a perspective where I can speak right to it.
Oh, there's no question about it. Excuse me. I will say that I am a big believer, and we're going to get to this in the immense importance of proximity. You know, I like to say all the time, like, I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and I spent part of my life in Chicago. I've been in Southern California for almost 30 years. When I talk to people who do not live anywhere near the border, this is kind of an abstraction. And it's no abstraction. Everything that's happening at the border is very real and has an enormous impact on our social services and everything we do in our everyday life here in Southern California and Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, any border state. But this whole problem is encroaching across the nation. We're going to get to that. Excuse me. Now, you had an interesting comment. You put it this way: the border is alive. Tell people who do not have this kind of experience with the border what you meant by, in your book, by the border is alive.
It's a living, breathing creature. It is. If you wrote a book or you did a movie, it's a character. It's not some place we just went to. It was a land that actually it felt like a chest heaving when you took in air and exhaled, because it was something alive. The border is depicted on TV, and you see people rushing across, but what they can't show you, because they just can't, it doesn't come across, is the border is a desolate, hopeless, violent, dirty, disgusting place. And it is a place that devours the weak, devours it. I'm talking weak agents too. If you're soft, if you can't handle it, it's going to eat you alive, or it's going to push you into administration, because you're never going to be able to live in there. The smugglers aren't weak. So what it boils down to is very strong agents trying to defend the border against very strong cartel, human smuggling, drug smugglers, and everyone in between is going to be devoured. And those are the illegal aliens. They get devoured. The women, children, everyone in between. But the border is alive, and it took part of me. I fell off a cliff. I wrecked my ATV. I can't sleep at night all the way through the night because my shoulders hurt so bad because I broke one of them and
it's a lot of hand to hand.
I got-
There's a lot of hand to hand combat that I don't think a lot of people know about, JJ.
Yes, because let's just kind of drive it home. Is remember when Donald Trump came down the escalator the first time to run for 2016 and said, we're going to stop all the murders and rapists coming over from Mexico, and everybody went crazy.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there watching that and going, why is everybody going crazy?
Yeah.
That's everybody I arrest are murder, rapists, drug dealers, pedophiles. I don't know where you are. Well, I know where they are. They're leftists. The rhinos are, and just make sure your audience understands. This is not Democrat, Republican. This is a uniparty issue. I lived it my whole career. The only president that did anything was Donald Trump, the greatest border president in the history of the United States of America, Donald Trump. Everyone else, including Bush and the Republicans, this was a game they played at the expense of America.
JJ, let me say this. We're paying a price for a media that is really, you remember Pravda, what the Soviet Union had, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was their newspaper, it was their news agency. And, we're paying a price for this because he said things like, they're sending us murderers and rapists and mental patients, and everybody just lost it. It's true. It's true. Why are you losing it? So I can definitely understand why that resonated with you, but I think it also, the fact that so many people reacted the way they reacted, and our media reacted the way they reacted, just goes to show that they don't know what you do. They don't know what you deal with. They have no idea what the Border Patrol is, what it has to do this day to day. You talk about people throwing concrete at you, or they have no idea, and the level of pollution. But we'll get to all that.
Well, yeah, the border is a forgotten piece of land. There were many times, Josh, that I would sit up on top of Spooner's Mesa. It's the highest point on the southwesternmost point, and I could look out to the skyline. I could see Coronado, the beautiful Coronado where the Navy SEALs train. If you have a house in Coronado, it's about $5 million. I could see Point Loma, $5-10 million, beautiful homes lining the coastline. Right behind me, 200 yards, is Tijuana, the desolate, disgusting, poverty-stricken, violent Tijuana. It was as if I was on another planet. I wasn't even on planet Earth. It really was like the Twilight Zone. But as I write in my book, and I don't know I know this says equally as much as bad about me, of my character, as it is good, is as crazy as that world was and violent as it was, I thrived in it. I loved it. I felt normal, and I felt God placed me in there for a reason, and I thrived in that environment.
Well, I
believe that.
Yeah. No. Please continue.
And you had it straight on. I think the media has some idea, but no one has really any idea. And I detail this in my book, where I take my dad to the border for the first time, and I talk, and I'll take people for ride-alongs throughout my career, and they have no idea. They're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know it was like this." It's like San Diego is literally just a couple miles north of the border, and everyone's living a beautiful life, me included. Beautiful women, beautiful cars, the weather's incredible. You get down the border, the pollution is so thick, the sky's orange.
Yeah, you can see it in the air.
There's people fighting you, shooting you. It's crazy. Yeah, you can see it in the air. But this is what the border's like across the southern border. It's violent. People have no idea. Murderers and rapists and pedophiles and drug dealers don't want to be arrested. It's not CSI Miami where everyone just puts their hands out and handcuff me. There were brutal hand-to-hand combat fights where either he's going to kill me or I'm going to kill him. Or I'm going to make him submit. And that's the mindset that you have to be a good Border Patrol agent. That's
All right,
it.
well, JJ, let's move on to the last, whatever it is, 3.5 years of the new administration coming in. Okay, we hear a lot about, 10,000 a day, 9,000 a day. It's this insane situation. I want to talk. Let's start to boil some of this down. Why don't you tell the audience what an NTA is, a notice to appear? What is that? And then we're going to dig into some more particulars about this. The notice to appear. How is that working out for America?
Okay. Before we get it, just give me 30 seconds to explain to your audience.
Go for it.
Everything that has happened in the last 3.5 years under Joe Biden, I need you to understand. We're celebrating our 100-year anniversary of the United States Border Patrol. For 96.5 years, we never did anything that we're doing today. Let me repeat that. This is not hyperbole. We never did anything that we're doing today because what we're doing today is illegal. It's unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional orders that Border Patrol are following, and no one can argue it. I can lay it all out, even the people that are doing it.
Such as?
Okay, such as parole. Parole is not state and local parole, like I let someone out of jail and you're going to follow these orders, and then if you break parole, I'm going to send you back to jail with a tack on. No, federal immigration parole is a case-by-case basis where somebody that needs medical to see a doctor that only American doctor, only doctor in the world has, or I arrest human smuggling or a narcotic case and I need to bring in a material witness. I will bring that person in and then I will watch him walk out of the United States or fly out of the United States and it'll be documented. It's a case-by-case basis. It's so rare. Do you know how many? I've arrested over 15 to 20,000 people directly and indirectly in my career. Do you know how many people I paroled in, Josh, in my whole career running a station, task force? Do you know how many I paroled in? Zero, Josh, zero. Do you know how many they paroled in so far? Millions. It's illegal. You can't parole these people in. And here's the thing. All of them time out, meaning they time out of status because they're only paroled in for 60 days to 6 months. Once that time eclipses, they become illegal aliens. So you have millions of people in our country that are illegal aliens. But let's go back. What's a notice to appear, you asked?
Mm-hmm.
So in the old days, if I arrested someone and I set them up and they said, no, I'm not going to return to Mexico or wherever, I want to see an immigration judge, I demand it. Okay. I will type up their casework. They will get a notice to appear, which is a court date. But Josh, here's the kicker. In my 24 years, my last year in the Border Patrol was Joe Biden's first year. So out of 23 of those years, the last year was abomination under that man. In 23 years, I never released anyone. No one's released, Josh. No one. So if you cross the border and you demand to have an NTA, I set you up for an NTA. Then I send you to a immigration facility where you sit for 2 weeks, a month, 5 weeks before you see the immigration judge, and then you're ordered deported, and then we deport you. Under the Immigration Nationality Act, the INA, I can't release you, Josh. It's against the law. It's against the immigration law. I cannot release you into society. Because you're a flight risk. You're an illegal alien. That's what an NTA is. Now, go into what NTAs are today. So the Border Patrol now give people NTAs and then it's just release them. So let me just give you a real life scenario. I'm a Haitian man. I'm there with my wife and my 2 kids. We claim asylum, some BS asylum, economic, which I'm not allowed. They don't even care. And he tells me, where are you going? I'm going to New York City. Okay. I don't even now give him an NTA, Josh. I don't. You know what I do? I create this log and I send it to sector headquarters in San Diego, and they're supposed to send to ICE. ICE is supposed to create an NTA and then mail it to their fictitious address. So nobody gets an NTA. Now, I talk to my ICE guys, I talk to my Border Patrol guys, they tell me this is what's going on. I talk to my ICE supervisor and say, well, what does that manifest look like when you get it? He goes, what manifest? I said, the one the Border Patrol is supposed to send you, so you're supposed to mail him. He goes, JJ, there's no coordination. We don't talk. We have no idea. People are showing up at our ICE facility in San Diego, and we have no documentation on them. We have no idea. So I said, so Border Patrol's saying they're not going to give NTAs, and they're going to send them to you, and you're going to mail them to this fictitious address. Yes. He goes, it's all a lie. It's all a boondoggle. The whole thing is a lie. And let's say a Border Patrol, let's just go back and say a Border Patrol agent does give me, the Haitian man, an NTA. Well, there's a box on the NTA. It's a small box. The Border Patrol actually has to type in the date and time that you're supposed to see the immigration officer. Now we put a date and time to be set at a later time. Do you know why? Because we are over 3.5 to 4 million cases backlogged. You are now getting immigration cases in New York City in 2032. Not 2024, 25, 2032.
If you want to show up, right?
Yes. Yes. No, and then if you don't show up, well, you're right. It's people have to understand everything Mayorkas is telling you, and I mean everything, is a lie. It's a lie. And we can go through step by step by step. I am telling you, and I want everyone to fact check me. My book has citations out the wazoo. Yeah. Everything I say, I never say anything for hyperbole. I say it just as factual truth. And I want you to fact check me because it just strengthens my argument.
Well, listen, we're going to continue. People are hearing about, well, depends on what networks they're watching. People are here. I'm just going to stop a second because I'm going to tell you, I remember when you and we're roughly the same age. I know that when you and I were young, there was a show called 60 Minutes that was still relevant. And I have a feeling, JJ, that you are exactly the kind of guy, in a sense, you're a whistleblower, in if you don't mind my using that term.
Yes.
You are the kind of guy who in 1981 would have been on 60 Minutes in a 20-minute feature, and everybody in America would have been talking about what you're saying. But in this day and age, I come back to the word pravda. How many times has CNN or CBS asked you to come on, and talk about this? Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's dangerous.
Right.
All right. But let's move on, because now even people who watch CNN, even people who watch CNN and the networks that are covering for Biden, they hear about iPhones, buses, plane tickets. Why don't you just launch from there about what do you hear when I say iPhones, buses, and plane tickets?
The first thing that comes to my mind are non-governmental organizations, NGOs, okay? Yeah. Because NGOs are the partner with the federal government. NGOs are evil, and they're covered under the blanket of religion. Catholic Charities, Jewish Family Services, Lutheran Family Services, just name 3 of probably 10 of the monster big ones. Now, I want your audience to understand, we are talking about tens of billions, that's with a B, billions a month, okay? A month given to these NGOs. We're looking at the end of Joe Biden's term. This is the low end. The low end of cost for totally illegal aliens in America, the cost of feeding, Medicaid, and on and on and on. The bottom end is $700 billion. The high end is over $1 trillion. I believe it's over $1 trillion with a T in 4 years. So when you got to understand, so you and I talked about NTAs. So under the Immigration Nationality Act, I cannot, per law, release an illegal alien into America. So out of complete whole cloth, Mayorkas, who has created every immigration policy we're looking at today, because he started in USCIS, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service, he created every single policy from 2008 to present day. DACA, catch and release, prosecutorial discretion, CBP-1 app, asylum, parole. I can go on and on and on. But the NTAs that you're talking about, when they give the NTA, they created this program out of whole cloth called ATD, Alternative to Detention. So I want you to imagine, I give you an iPhone, I can track you now, right? That's their logic. I can track you, so now you're still detained. That's like me committing an armed robbery and the judge saying, JJ, you got a 10-year sentence, but I'm not going to send you to San Quentin and you're going to rot for 10 years like everyone else. I'm going to give you an iPhone and your jail is the United States of America. Just stay within the continental US and you can roam and do whatever you want. That's what we're doing.
And iPhones are only $1,000, right? They're only $1,000, right? I mean, this is
Brand
madness.
new. Have you seen the pictures? Have you seen the pictures of them taking their iPhone, like getting a new box like a Christmas, and they actually unwrapping the bubble wrap and they have a brand new iPhone. And here's where it gets better.
Oh, go ahead.
NGOs, the NGOs give them free airfare, as you said, anywhere in the continental US, free. They give them free housing. We have people in New York City that have been living in homeless shelters for over a year. Do you know how much it costs to feed one person, just one person, 3 meals a day in New York City? Approximately $100. That's $36,000 a year for food for one person. Now start doing that times hundreds of thousands.
And the hotels
in just New York City.
And by the way, let's start to break this down. The hotels, okay, can you imagine that the taxpayers are paying for actual hotels for people who are in the country illegally and never should have made it into this country legally? Talk about the hotels for a minute. Then I want to dig into the NGOs because there's something I want to say. But the hotels. Well, why Americans are asking themselves, why the hell are we putting people in hotels and paying for it?
Because there's no room in homeless shelters. So this is what our federal government did. They backstopped the major cities, the blue cities. So New York City, 50% of the hotels in New York City are filled with illegal aliens. Let's go to one place that I went to just 2 weeks ago. I went to Chicago to film my documentary, What is Treason? And I went to Chicago because I believe it's the epicenter of the ground zero of the illegal alien invasion. I went from 100 yards away, I went from a tent city, if you want to even call it that, of U.S. veterans, U.S. citizens, drug addicts, mental illness, hundreds of U.S. citizens living in squalor. The stench of urine and feces was overwhelming. It's like permeating my clothes. I walked 200 yards away, and I'm looking at a giant, probably 1 million square feet that holds 1,200 illegal aliens, majority single adult military-age men from Venezuela, and they're living in a beautifully renovated building with tens of millions of dollars poured in it, and they're coming and going, 3 square meals a day. Doctors have access to doctors, nurses, complete food. They have same-day dry cleaning and wash your clothes service. And I have brothers and sisters in this freaking country living in squalor.
Oh my God.
And you got to understand something. I'm just talking about the tip of the iceberg.
This is not on the
JJ.
This is not on the network news. This is not where
you're going to see it. You're going to see it in my documentary. But let me also say this, Josh. Look, I was a huge Fox News guy. I don't even watch Fox News. You know why? Fox News doesn't even. That's $1 billion company with hundreds of producers. Those morons can't even get the data correct. They keep pushing out data it's damning, right? But it's all segmented lies from DHS. It's as if you think somebody would reach out to someone like me and say, JJ, do these numbers look good to you? No, you idiots. No. That's all the data. How do you not know this? How do you keep putting out false data? I don't understand. Are you complicit or are you ignorant? Either way, it's whatever one you choose. You're ignorant or complicit. It sucks. It's bad. But Fox News is no better than CNN, MSNBC. It's almost like it's satire almost when you watch. So
they're basically reading Mayorkas's press releases is what you're saying, even on Fox News. Now I want to dig into something.
Absolutely.
This is what I wanted to dig into because I'll just take a moment to tell you. You mentioned in the book that you're Catholic and you're a man of faith. It means a great deal to you. I will tell you, I'm Jewish, and I have in my life received benefits and kindnesses from Jewish Family Service. They do good work for people. They help people out who need counseling. They give loans to people. And I'm not talking about Jewish people. It's just my experience. But what breaks my heart, and this really breaks my heart to read this in your book, is when you talk about Lutheran Family Service, Catholic Charities, Jewish Family Service, the United Way. When I hear of these organizations being used as a conduit, it's kind of like a money launder, really,
Mm-hmm.
of ridiculous amounts of money for the sake of people who are in the country illegally. It breaks my heart, the list of NGOs that you specify in the book. I can't tell you how much good work I've encountered from Jewish Family Service. You can probably tell me more about Catholic Charities. Well, this breaks my heart.
Well, let's talk. Okay, this is a great question. I'm a recipient of good work from Catholic Charities. I have an adopted son, and they did all my home visits and all that. So, and I'm a devout Catholic, but I can't stand Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities is a smuggling organization. And how do I know that? Because they've received billions with a B, billions. And let me give you so you have an understanding.
Yeah.
One of the people that I interviewed for my documentary, What is Treason, was a DHS employee he was the check cutter, meaning he's the guy that sent all the money. And I said to him, okay, give me an example of your biggest check that you cut. Okay. I cut the check to Jewish Family Services for $600 million. And I went, okay, was that for 2 or 3 years? And he laughed at me. He said, no, that's about 2 months. And I said, holy mother of God. I said, okay. And he goes, no. I need to finish, JJ. I said, okay. He says, under Jewish Family Services are about 50 to 100 or more subcontractors, mom and pops. He goes, so after I give the $600 million to Jewish Family Services, all the mom and pops come out of the woodwork and start demanding $1 million here, $5 million there. And I'm just cutting checks because we're in chaos mode. And he goes, here's where it gets really crazy. So I cut a check, electronic fund transfer, and I send it to the payee. He goes, do you know, I'm not sending the money to subcontractor X. Do you know where the money goes? And I'm like, I have no idea. He goes, it goes to Jewish Family Services account. He goes, all of these people, all these subcontractors, and this is the same thing with Catholic Charities and Lutheran Family Services, they're using subcontractors as a shell game to launder their money through the LLCs. This is a giant steal. Again, I'm telling you, billions of dollars a month that these religious organizations we're paying them. And then just so you understand and your audience understands, this is a very important statement. My guy, and I've verified this multiple ways, and his statement is 100% true. He says, JJ, the government doesn't run the NGOs. The NGOs run the government. The NGOs tell them how much they're going to pay, when they're going to pay it, and where they're going to move the people. And I was like, okay, hold on. He goes, no, you have to understand. The federal government of Mayorkas and Biden destroyed the immigration system, flooded America. We need the NGOs more than they need us, because if we do not move 12 million people from the border into the interior, we don't have that mechanism, then it's complete and utter chaos on the border, and America will see it. The NGOs hide it and move the people across America. And you said it right. It's not a border issue anymore. You have 45 million illegal aliens in America. Let me say that again so everybody's
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what is your estimate? Because people forget there was like 20 before Biden took office. There was like 20, right? Something like that?
20, yes, 25? It was. Yeah. So this is a lie, right? My whole career has been a lie about how many people. But they hold it as a gold standard. In 2019, Yale and MIT did a study. They ran an algorithm 1 million times, poured information data in, and they felt comfortable with saying 22 million people were in the United States prior to Biden. Biden comes in, and I'm telling you right now, the total number is somewhere between 27 and 30 million people that he's allowed into a country. In congressional testimony, Clay Higgins blurted it out. There's 45 million illegal aliens in America right now. I believe it's closer to 50, or we'll hit 50 by the end of the term. Center for Immigration Studies did a major important population demographic white paper, and they said 51.6 million people in the United States of America are foreign nationals. That's 1 in 6 people living in America are not U.S. citizens.
And
name me a civilian.
And asking for identification to vote is racist, JJ, even though you need ID for a library card and renting a car and cashing your paycheck and doing and buying liquor and doing everything else in life. But it's racist to ask for identification. So do the math on that. I vote here in California. I've told my friends back in Buffalo, come here on election day and tell me illegals are not voting. Okay, just tell them, just look at what's happening. Now, let me say this, though, and I want to take it in another direction. Chicago and New York are big cities with a lot of problems, and people know that. And I understand what Greg Abbott is doing, but I have very cynically said, but I'm being very honest, if you really want to wake people up, you drop off 1,000 people every Tuesday morning in Amherst, New York, Shaker Heights, Ohio, Northbrook, Illinois, Hilton Head, South Carolina. You find every nice blue suburb that has no concept of what you did for a living, has no concept that the border is alive, has no clue what this really means, never goes to an emergency room like I do here and see filled with illegals, schools. Look, you drop them off in the bluest suburbs you can find for like a week and see what the reaction is. Because Chicago and New York are big, crazy cities. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, it's absolutely. But here, I'll go one step further. I'm not a big fan of Abbott. I think he's just, everything is half-assed with him.
Okay.
Here's a better thing. Why don't you not send millions of or thousands of people like you did and cost you millions of dollars to send people? Why don't you send them back to their home country?
Please.
Why don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone says, look at Mayorkas. Look what he did. He put the National Guard. Number one, he guarded 47 acres of over 1,258 miles of his southern border he shares with Mexico. It's a joke. And what happened to his NGOs? They got run over like a sophomore team. When's the last time you saw that video of them, the illegal aliens running over the National Guard? When's the last time in American effing history that our military got run over and there were no repercussions, got trampled on? There was no repercussions. This is symbolic. That's why I bring it up. It's symbolic. America, you're getting destroyed. You don't even know it. Let's talk about this, okay? Because you make a great point. Chicago and New York, and this is my thesis. They have been saturated. Why? Because inner city Black and Hispanic communities are expendable. They're going to saturate, destroy it. It's destroying the Black community in Chicago. However, 45 million people can't live in the big cities. They're going to bleed out. And I'll tell you what's happening. It's happening right now. You go to Whitewater, Wisconsin, small college town, about 14,000 people live there. Biden pushed out over almost 1,200 nationals from Venezuela and Nicaragua. The chief of police, I spoke to him on the phone myself, refused to get on and allow me to interview him because he's scared. But the chief of police there said, JJ, we have, and this has been written in newspapers, we are seeing crimes now that we didn't know existed. Rapes, child molestation, rape of women, kidnapping, murders, drug dealing, pimping, everything. He goes, we never had this, never. He goes, my cops don't know what to do. We're just running around crazy, going after this person and that person. But that is the example of what's going to happen to you, America. It's spilling out. It's spilled out all over. It's happening in Iowa. It's happening in small towns across America. You think that you're immune to this? You're insane. It's going to spill out.
They do think they're immune to this, JJ.
Yeah, they do.
They do. Well, let's talk. Okay, let me ask you about this. There's an expression that I love. It's called the liberal racism or the soft racism of low expectations. Okay, we never seem to expect Mexico to change. We never seem to expect some of these Central American countries to change. It's like they appear at our thousands, tens of thousands of people. Oh, there's another caravan. Why is Trump the only guy who said, no, you're not allowed to send us caravans? And nothing is ever expected to change down there, JJ. I'll give you another example. You talk in the book. Okay, you mentioned rapes, child trafficking, things like this. And you ask the question, where are the women's organizations? By the way, I don't want to sidetrack you, but like I saw all these Jewish women being raped and murdered in Israel in a massacre. I didn't hear any women's organization say anything.
No.
That's just another flavor of that. But it's this liberal racism of low expectations. Another thing, all I hear about is the environment. Look at the border. You talk about the Tijuana River in your book. talk to me about the liberal racism of low expectations, because nobody ever wants to say there's all these taboo subjects, and no one ever asks any of these Central American countries or Mexico to change. And I'm struck by the liberal racism of low expectations. That's what I call it.
Well, you're absolutely right. And you hit on something that is very uncomfortable. People don't want to talk about. This is from conservative organizations and far left organizations like the IMO, the United Nations, Refugees International. You name the left-wing organizations. And they actually have come out in articles and saying anywhere from 60 to 80% of every woman and child coming from the Darian Gap in Panama, making their journey up to Mexico, 60 to 80% are raped or sexually assaulted. I take 10. I have 4 sisters, and I just came back from a family wedding and their daughters. So I take all of my family, 10 of them, and I stand them in front of me. If I took those 10 on that journey, at least 6 to 8 of them will be raped or sexually assaulted. And we do nothing. And everyone knows it, and no one says a damn thing about it. Nothing. Where's the women groups? Where are they? You have over 600,000 children, unaccompanied alien children, have been brought across the border as young as infants to 17 years old, turned over to sponsors, and HHS, Health and Human Services, Javier Becerra, and the Office of Refugee Resettlement, ORR, who are responsible for these children, have already stated openly in congressional testimony, I have no idea where these children are. 600,000 and growing, we believe the number is closer to 800 to 1 million, have disappeared into America.
Into the United States, yeah.
Into the United States. Yeah. And just make sure everyone's clear, the number one consumer of child pornography in the world, United States of America. The United States of America.
Well, there's also labor, JJ, there's also labor trafficking in this country with these children after they get here.
Yes.
Well, we don't know where the hell they are.
Well, we've already seen several of them ended up in meat packing plants at 2 o'clock in the morning, 13 years old. Look, why is Juan from Guatemala working in a meat packing plant in Nebraska at 2 o'clock in the morning when I would never allow my son? Well, why? Let me make sure everyone's very clear on this. Right now, as you and I are speaking and your audience is watching, I will guarantee you an untold number of children are being sexually abused and raped right now.
In the U.S.
They're laying there.
In the U.S.
In the U.S. And they're laying there on their disgusting mattress in a disgusting room, turning tricks 5 or 10 times a day, and they're screaming to God, please let someone come. Help me. And I'm telling you, no one is coming to help you. Do you know why, Josh? Because Mayorkas has reassigned the vast majority of ICE investigators who investigate these crimes. They're down on the border making sandwiches and driving illegal aliens to the hospital for medical attention. That everyone has been reassigned. Do you know at any given time, Josh, 80% of the 2,000 miles on the southern border are unmanned? 80%. There is no one on the border. It's the greatest crime against the United States of America. And we have to come full circle, just so you understand. This isn't bad policy. This isn't happenstance. At the beginning of this administration, they had to have had and continue to have at the highest level of federal government meetings talking about how we're going to get as many people across this border as possible. Therefore, this is treason. There is no other explanation. This is intentional, strategic, and purposeful. And we are allowing it to happen to our nation.
Indeed, and you touch on the COVID epidemic, the pandemic that we lived through, and you mentioned that another taboo subject is disease, and it's interesting the kind of things that we've eradicated here that you find in people who are bringing it here. Tell me a little bit about COVID and various diseases that people don't want to talk about, or it makes you
at the end of my career, which was the first year of Joe Biden, we would have NGOs come in and test all the people in our facility, and then they put them on buses. They put them on a COVID positive bus and a COVID negative bus, and they went to the same place. And then there was no one holding them in the hotel, so all of the COVID positive people would just leave and just go across America. While you and I were stuck in our houses and told not to go anywhere, We were paying for air flights and plane tickets for illegal aliens to travel across the country that were COVID positive. Look, COVID positive is a joke, all right? We were releasing people with full body of scabies and lice, every skin ailment. I was releasing people that had full-blown AIDS, not HIV, full-blown outward evidence AIDS. Tuberculosis, drug-resistant tuberculosis. Name it. Polio, leprosy. I can just go on and on and on. And we had people that we had. Let me just tell you what it looked like. We would send illegal aliens prior to Biden coming in. I mean, right when Biden came in, before the NGOs took over, we were taking people to the hospital almost every day, all the time. And the manager of the hospital called me and said, no more. Don't bring them in. You have to bring them in the back of the hospital in the parking lot, and we'll triage them there. And I said, why? And she says, because they all have something we cannot determine what it is, but it is bad. And I was like, what? So all my agents started getting sick. We brought in COVID. COVID came from the West Coast and moved east. Okay? We brought in COVID into America. And then we allowed it to spread because we just let all the illegal aliens go. Look, this is beyond comprehension. And it's hard when you talk in these terms about treason, because you and I look through lenses of America, apple pie, Coca-Cola, baseball, Patton, World War II, the greatest generation. When you take those glasses off and you put on America last, I hate America. America is racist. We're everything we got is from slavery and oppression. And then you look through those glasses. Holy cow, everything makes sense. Every decision this administration is doing makes sense. Ask yourself a simple question. Why are we allowing tens of millions of people into America and doing nothing to stop it? I mean, we can start there. Let me just tell you this. My chief, when I left, was Chief Rodney Scott under Trump. When Biden came in, we all knew he was going to get pushed out. Under congressional testimony, they asked Chief Scott, what was your meeting like with Mayorkas the first time? He goes, well, my first meeting with Mayorkas, and I'm going to almost quote this. Mayorkas told me, your job now is to open as many pathways as possible to get in as many people as possible into the United States of America. The number one law enforcement person in America to secure our nation, Alejandro Mayorkas, a naturalized citizen from the communist nation of Cuba, tells the number one border chief to not do his job and to open the border and let in everyone into America. Is that not a treasonous statement? Can we all agree on that?
No. We can't all agree on that. We can't, JJ.
No.
Because anybody who expresses these concerns is a MAGA nutcake. Okay. It begs the question, is it over, JJ? You mentioned in the book, I'm trying to remember what you said, I wrote it down. Can it be, can we make it back? And you reply to the question you asked yourself, I don't think so. I don't think we can make it back. And tell me about that. I mean, are we too far gone? It's like, do we not know it's over? I'm serious now.
No, and this is a great question, and I have gone back and forth, right, on this question. Let me answer it this way, and I'll answer it and not answer it, because I believe America can do anything it wants, because we're America. We're the greatest nation on planet Earth. Do we have the stones? Do we have the wherewithal to do it? I tell people all the time, this is a math problem with negative variables attached to it, meaning you have 45 million illegal aliens. It's going to get to 50 million by the end of this term. So let's just use 50 million. United States citizens are an older generation, older people. We have a reproduction rate that is lower than the replacement level. Illegal aliens, and when I say this is not about race or ethnicity, because 180 nations out of 195 nations are in the report data of arrests in the United States Border Patrol, every skin color. The data says those individuals reproduce at a 2, 3, 4, 5 time rate of U.S. citizens. So I have 50 million, and let's say they reproduce at a 2-to-1 ratio. You have 100 150 million people inside the United States of America within 10 years.
Well, then
Within a full generation, you're at over 300, meaning you are 1-to-1 with us.
touch on something quickly here, JJ, is chain migration. Because I always tell people we have policies in place where once you're in, somehow everybody else, I just know this in a nebulous way. I hear about chain migration. Once you're in, all of a sudden, all these other family members, they're coming in too. Tell me a little bit about chain migration.
This is a great question.
It's an amplifier.
Okay?
It's an amplifier.
Yes, it is. So, but even after I wrote the book, this changed. Okay, so give me about 2 minutes to explain this.
Sure.
Let's say I'm a man from India. Okay, we've all heard these stories. So if I'm a man from India, I work in 2 jobs, 3 jobs because I want my brother to come over because I can sponsor my family. So I'm legal, right? I came here legally. Only people that are legal residents and U.S. citizens can sponsor a family member. So let's say I'm even an Indian and I come over here and I become a naturalized citizen. I have to sponsor my brother, meaning I have to fill out a form, a government form called the I-134, a declaration of financial support. Think of you getting a mortgage. I have to show all this documentation that I can pay my mortgage, right? And not go in default. Same thing here. So I'm going to be able to show, okay, I can only bring in my brother. My brother and I are going to work our ass off, and we're going to bring in our sister, and then maybe my mom, or whatever. But I'm telling the government, that person is, so if that person goes to the hospital, that person gets unemployed, I have to shoulder it, or that person is deportable. Alejandro Mayorkas, who is a very smart man, and I applaud him because he is devious and he is intentional, and God dang it, he is determined. USCIS changed all that. I don't know if you know this, Josh. Changed the way that I have to bring in. So now they have labeled people that are paroled, asylum, temporary protective status, DACA, and deferred enforced departure. All those categories are now labeled unlawfully lawful residents in America. So all of those millions, tens of millions of illegal aliens now can bring their family members in. But you ask, well, JJ, how does a man that's living from Sudan in the Comfort Inn for a year that has just a clothes on his back in Boston, he can't financially support? Oh, yes, they can, because the USCIS waived the Declaration of Financial Support and tied it to the NGOs. So the NGOs are the financial backdrop of these people. So I'm from Yemen or Sudan or wherever. I want to bring in 5 or 10 of my family. The NGOs say, yep, I have the money. Well, how do you have the money, NGOs? Because the federal government is taking our tax dollars and funding our demise. So you take 50 million people. Let's just say they bring in 3 people. It's 150 million people. It's America's, and you and I haven't, look, this is so broad. It'll take 5, 10, 20 interviews. You and I are talking about the data of DHS bringing people in. We haven't even talked about the tens of millions of people absconded. We haven't even talked about the 1.5 to 2 million people the federal government has flown in to America in the darkness of night and had to admit they did it, that they lied. They didn't even put it in our data. This is so broad. But I'm going to tell you, even I, the guy that I claim to be the expert, and I understand, I have begun to film my documentary. I am telling you, the machine that the federal government built with the NGOs is at an industrial size. Before, when I left in 2021, it was clunky. Now it is a well-oiled machine. They have a pipeline, a conveyor belt, assembly line, if you will, from the Darian Gap all the way into middle America.
Yeah.
So well-funded. Yeah,
JJ, let me just, like you just mentioned, we could go for another 12 hours talking this, but here's the thing. By the way, folks, when JJ mentions the Darian Gap, I won't get too far into this today, but that is a place between Colombia and Panama, very treacherous route. And very quickly, JJ, Mayorkas was down there, right? You mentioned in the book at one point he had visited. I mean, this is a horrible bottleneck. Tell me quickly about the Darian Gap. People should know about it.
So Darian Gap, just think about Colombia coming into Panama. It's a very narrow place. It's jungle. People are dying all the time down there. So Mayorkas ends up flying down with a contingent on a Black Hawk, and a man by the name Michael Yan happened to be down there. He's an investigative journalist, awesome guy. Pops up a drone, and he catches Mayorkas down there. What the hell's Mayorkas doing in the jungle in Panama? Well, he's down there in April 2022 because he is funding, we, the American people, have funded to build migrant camps all up and down Panama into Central America. And think of, you're traveling from New York to Florida. You need to stop. You need to sleep. You need to get food. You got a rest area, take a nap. That's what we built. We built giant rest areas where they can get medicated, clothed, given food, given maps, how to get to America. And then when you get to America, what are you supposed to do? So when I tell you we are funding, we have built the mechanism on our tax dollars to destroy America. It's indisputable.
Oh my
It's indisputable.
God. Well, okay, look, we've got to touch on this. I just read Peter Schweitzer's last two books about China. And by the way, and as he points out in these books, China is at war with America and will not fire a shot. They will not fire a single shot. They have something called fentanyl. We lost 50,000 people in the entire Vietnam War, okay? We lose 100, soon it'll be 150,000, 200,000, 250,000 people to fentanyl poisoning and fentanyl overdoses. There are people who, it's a lot of young people. They'll try a drug. Okay, maybe they shouldn't try Coke, but most likely the Coke isn't going to kill them. But a couple of grains of fentanyl are in the Coke, and now bye-bye. Or your kid is at college, and I had a kid at college, I said, for God's sake, the only pills you ever take are the pills that come from Walgreens or CVS, okay? Anyway, so tell me about fentanyl, because this is so insane. And the cartels, everybody watch Breaking Bad. It's not just the cartels. The cartels get the materials from China. Okay? China is killing Americans with this fentanyl. The cartels are the manufacturer and the delivery device. Tell me about fentanyl, because this is crazy.
It's a synthetic opioid that they can make on the cheap, and they cut it up into cocaine and heroin because you can dilute the cocaine and heroin. You still get the kick, but it costs less, right? So I make more money. It's just cost effective. But Mexican cartels don't have the wherewithal to make it, but China does. And you won't believe this because it's almost beyond belief. Do you know where the majority of fentanyl comes from? Wuhan.
Yeah.
The same place that we got the COVID. Okay, so China's killing us. And Josh, you're absolutely right. Under Trump, 50,000 Americans were dying every year from drug overdoses. It is now almost tripled under Joe Biden. It's a direct line from the open borders to drug cartels. Now, to even go further, do you know that there's over 2,000 Chinese chemists in the northern part of Mexico working right now?
I do know about that. Yeah.
Documented.
Yep.
And why are they there?
Yep.
Because they're creating and making fentanyl.
Yep.
I talked to a high-ranking guy that is, I would without a doubt say that he's the expert, absolute expert, Jason James, on this issue in cartels. And he told me, fentanyl, that's a joke now. They're creating stuff like Trank and stuff that kills you instantly that makes fentanyl look like a joke. It's all coming from China. They're building it. They're bringing all the chemicals over. And here's the crazy thing. And you're right, Schweitzer touches on this. You have to understand the cartels now have become subservient to to the Chinese. The Chinese run the drug cartels. And the drug cartels, the old days of them pushing the drugs across and, like Latin Kings or 8th Street or bikers, white nationalist biking gangs would take over and distribute. Nope. No, those days are gone. The Mexican drug cartel leaders, they are already pushed into America and they're running all the drugs through all 50 states. America, you are being systematically destroyed and you are paying for it. And why? You have to ask yourself this, Josh. You have to ask yourself the question, why is our government doing this? Well, let's listen to what they said. I'm going to give you two quotes. First quote, we're going to fundamentally transform America, Barack Obama. Second quote, there are going to be endless waves of migration into America forever, Joe Biden. Those are two. Let me give you a third one. We have to bring in these people to replace our American workers. That's Chuck Schumer. I can go on and on and on. I can quote these. Look, it's not my
Okay.
words. It's their words and their actions. Look at it.
Then there's two things. I'm going to wrap up with you. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. I want to scream that you are not on 60 Minutes, Today Show, ABC, NBC, Washington Post. This is outrageous. And for not, I mean, you've been on Fox, but I don't, see them. JJ, you're a Border Patrol agent, man. 24 years. And how is this not, how are you not on major network news every 24 hours? This is insanity. How are your views, which are so dreadfully important to American understanding, how would they be looked at as MAGA or fringe? Or you're a Border Patrol agent. You're telling us the truth. Does
Well,
this not make
here's the
you, how
thing.
does this not make you nuts? You should be on network news every 24 hours.
I do. I've already passed the point of network news. The only way I do several network news, Newsmax, used to, and now I do Real America's Voice. I do major podcasts. I do podcasts from 10 people to 2 million. I'll go talk to anyone. But let me explain to you, they don't want to hear what I had to say. I have a new documentary coming out in September.
Tell me about that, please.
What is treason? I have a website called thisistreason.com. We didn't even it came up live on Thursday. We didn't even promote it. Me and my partner, Ryan Matta, didn't even promote it because we're starting the promotion this week. But I've already been demonetized. PayPal now won't allow me. I had pre-orders pouring in. I haven't even done anything on it. It's pouring in. People are finding it, and PayPal canceled me. Why? Because I want to talk about America and what's happening. Nothing I say is hyperbole. Nothing I say this is just facts. I'm just giving you facts. You don't like it? You don't have to like my black shirt or my spiky hair, but it's the truth. Truth is just the truth, right? But I have been demonetized. Now I have to go through another pay system. Look, when I wrote my book, Invaded, Josh, I mean, it's a whole nother podcast. I had a conservative publication that was my publisher, censored my own book. I had to go and fight to get my rights back, and I had to publish it myself on Amazon. And I'm gonna tout this. My book was 8 times bestseller on Amazon, 8 times. And Fox News won't call me. CNN won't talk to me. 60 Minutes won't talk to me. Wait a minute. Why? Because I'm speaking the truth, and they don't want to hear it. Because when I tell you the data and I tell you what happens, it is factually truth. And if you don't like, I always say this at the end of when I have a conversation with someone, and they argue with me and say, "Well, I don't believe your conclusion." Okay, but you believe the data that I said because it's coming from cbp.gov and it's coming from all the places you've checked it. Yes, I've checked it. It's true. Okay. If you don't like my conclusion, tell me why the hell our government's bringing in tens of millions of people and how it's good for America. Go. And you're a podcaster and you were on sports podcasting. What's the worst thing in the world? The very worst thing is silence, because a second of silence feels like a minute. 30 seconds of silence is decades on the air. And I just sit there and I just let it hang, because there is no other answer, Josh. The answer is they're intentionally destroying the United States of America.
Well,
I don't have any joy saying this.
What's the name of the documentary, JJ? What should we look out for?
It's called What is Treason? What is treason? Okay. I'm going across America to show what the manifestation of treason in the cities, the major cities and small towns across America. I'm going to Texas this week, and then the following week I'm going to New York and Boston. I just filmed from Chicago. And then my website is thisistreason.com. And I have a system that you can pre-order. And it's exploding because I believe people want to hear the truth. They're drawn to the truth.
One day I want to wake up and I want there to be a miracle on television. I'm going to wake up one day and President Trump has appointed you to take over from Mayorkas. That
would be a glorious day.
Because you're the only guy who can name people better qualified. This is a downer. I think we're in big trouble. I really think the country's I worry about things that people are not gonna wake up to until 50 years after I'm in the grave. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
can I just make one
go ahead.
point?
Yeah, please,
That,
please.
and just to drive home what you're saying, let me just tell you just a couple data points so you understand. At the end of Joe Biden's term, he will have arrested 12 million people. Another 18 million would have gone through the border. They're claiming 12 million. In those 12 million, there will be 210,000 single adult military age men from China. Majority they're from the military. You will have arrested 250,000 special interest aliens. In layman's terms, they're terrorists, and they have been released. We are now watching. An admiral came on Fox News just on Friday and said we have had unprecedented penetrations into every military base in the United States of America by foreign nationals that are illegal aliens from terrorist nations. This is not me. This is an admiral that is speaking out and saying they are making dry runs. I am telling you, you have over 250,000, probably 500,000 terrorists in the nation. Buckle up, America, and you document this and you timestamp it because it's going to happen. Just like President Trump said, 100% chance of a terrorist attack. Christopher Wray, and I'm going to quote, there are more red flags today than there were before 9/11. That's Christopher Wray. It's going to happen, America. It's here. The enemy is already here. It's not coming. It's here. It's when do they want to do action. And when they do, I'm telling you, don't be surprised. Don't come running to me and going, how did this happen? Well, how the hell did it happen? You open your borders and you allow everyone in from the whole world. What do you think is going to happen?
JJ Carrell, this is treason.com, and go look for the Unrestricted Invasion podcast that he does with Brian O'Shea. Find this book, Invaded. Got it? Invaded. There it is. I look. God bless you in speaking the truth. The truth is not welcome, and all your work for this country. It's Memorial Day. God bless everyone who ever laid their life down for this country. And by the way, that includes Border Patrol agents. And we could go on and on. But JJ, I really appreciate your sharing this with me today. And God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
Thank you.